Welcome to Central News for Thursday, 30th of May. I'm Amy Forrest. In today's news, a new survey has found a third of Kiwis, particularly young adults and women, are unable to afford adequate heating this winter. The Canster Blue survey of 2,060 electricity customers has found 36% of people cannot afford to heat their homes. Phil Gregg of Sustainability Options says there are many ways to heat a home efficiently without breaking the bank.
From my perspective, it came about kids. Suddenly when you have kids, you start realising, wow, what about them? What about their kids? If you look at the world today, we've got 7 billion people. Now, if everyone was to have the same standard of living as us in New Zealand, you'd need 3 worlds or 3 Earths to sustain that. If everyone was to have the same standard of living as America, we'd need 6 worlds. So really, if we are to consider our kids, we need to change what we're doing.
European footballing rivalries will be resurrected in a fun-filled spirit tonight in a fundraiser to send 2 Aquinas College students to Fiji for the college's annual service trip. As part of their fundraising project to reach the Fijian village of Vanukula, Ben Regan and Connor Bourne have organised a night of football's finest highlight reel from the 2012-2013 season at Mumbai Masala. Each year, a group of Year 13 students embark on the service trip to the small village located inland of Suva, helping construct new buildings and interacting with the Fijian people. The 13 students involved in this year's trip have fundraised $20,000 for the building project, but now need the $2,000 per individual to pay for travel and insurance costs. Now for our region's weather. Hamilton, your Friday sees a few cloudy periods and the odd shower, with a high of 17 and a low of 6. In Tauranga, another crisp, fine day for you, with a high of 17 and a low of 9. Just ahead, Arbor Day. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. Over 25,000 native plants and trees will be planted for this year's Arbor Day. Hilary Entwistle caught up with the planting coordinator to find out how you can be part of this year's event.
So Gerard, what is Arbor Day?
Well, Arbor Day, Hilary, it's about planting trees. It's a day that's been set aside. In fact, it was first started in Nebraska by a guy Julius Morton Sterling, who was pretty famous for that. And it was really in Nebraska they planted trees on a special day because they'd cleared all the land of the vegetation and suddenly got a dust bowl effect. And they realised that the trees were pretty important. And so they set aside one day where all the residents, people around the community came out and planted trees. And that was on the 10th of April 1872. So it's a tradition that's kind of spread worldwide. And it's a day set aside specifically for planting trees.
How long has it been celebrated in New Zealand?
Hilary, it's been celebrated for about over 100 years. It was first, I think the celebration for Arbor Day was down in Greytown in the Wairarapa in about 1890. So it's moved to the 5th of June in New Zealand, which is also World Environment Day. So it's been celebrated in New Zealand pretty much since the 1890s. And I think I can remember even when I was a kid going and planting trees in our local kind of park with the school. So yeah, it's a pretty time-bound tradition now.
Hayley, what benefits does it bring to our environment?
Well, first of all, Arbor Day is all about embracing nature, but it also helps with the restoration of our natural flora and fauna. But most importantly, I think it's about changing the attitudes of people towards the environment for our future generations.
Tell us about the event that you guys are going to have here in Hamilton.
Well, it's a pretty big day for the city parks and Hamilton City Council. This year we've got 25,000 trees that we're going to be planting, so it's quite a big event, and it's become, I suppose, something that we've invited all the schools, and in the last couple of years the businesses have got more involved in it, which is, a bit of a plug there. Genesis are going to send out 10 of their staff. We've got the Waikato University, and we've got some of the people from the local DHB, so hospital and Yeah, so it's become more of a tradition for everyone rather than just the schools.
When and where will the event be held?
The event's going to be held at Waiwhakariki Natural Heritage Park, which is a 60-hectare reconstruction restoration that we're undertaking in the parkland opposite the zoo. So out at Brymer Road, opposite the zoo, in the car park, that's where we're meeting, and then the event's held across the road at the park, which is Waiwhakariki Natural Heritage Park.
So what about the education aspect on the day?
Oh, well, we've obviously the students can be actively involved in the planting here at Waiwhakariki, so they're actually feeling, contributing to this environment. But we also, Hamilton Zoo have invited schools to actually, after the planting, come and listen to some educational talks by Waikato University, NIWA and Landcare Research. And so the students will get the opportunity to hear about different parts of the ecosystem that they've actually helped contribute to.
Now, you do have a lot of plants this year. How many plants do you guys have?
Hillary, we have 25,000 native plants that we're planting, which is quite a big sum for any planting. We think it's actually a bit of an Australasian record, but we haven't had that confirmed.
Where have the plants come from? Have they been donated?
Well, the money that's been raised to provide the cost of the plants has been provided by the Ministry for the Environment. There's some funding applied for there, and the plants have actually been grown at the Hamilton City Council nursery. So they've grown 25,000 what we call ecologically sourced native plants. So ecologically sourcing them means that they've come from within the Hamilton Basin, which tends to actually, I suppose, from what we've seen, increase the growth rate. Like the plants are adapted to the variations in the climate changes and the actual soils within the Waikato. And so that's been something that I think we've learnt over the years, that ecologically sourcing the plants is very important.
What plants are we talking here?
So they're all native plants, from the wetland species right through to the hillcrest, and this project is actually recreating the different habitats that once were here in the Waikato. So we've got a peat lake down in the middle of this park, which is pretty important. And so some of the plants that we have ecologically sourced are the manuka, and they're the wetland manuka, not the dry slope manuka, so there's some variations within that. We're planting kauri, so a lot of people won't be aware, but in Hamilton, to the north of the city, was where the kauri spread to. And up in Ngarawahia, we've got some large kauri up there still. So we're replicating that on the hillcrests through the park. Then the kind of bank areas, or what we call the hill slopes, we're putting in the tawa and rimu, the mixed podocarps. And then the gully floors, the kakatea, which is quite predominant in Hamilton and the Waikato region, flaxes or the harakiki. And a lot of other plants as well within that mix.
There is a little bit of a sad element to the day though, isn't there?
Yeah, we'd like to dedicate this planting to Dr. Elwyn Seeley, who's a bit of a legend in Hamilton actually, especially for the gullies. Like, we've got a big gully restoration program in the city, and Elwyn restored a gully by himself over the last 50 years, so a lot of foresight there. Well known in the community for his donkeys that he used to take to all the schools for gala days, but yeah, really great achievement, and he actually gifted the 2 hectares of land that he restored to the city, and it's right in the middle of the city. Yeah, Elwyn really was a bit of a champion for planting trees, and so we'd like to dedicate this day to him and his family.
So who can join in on the event?
Right, for Arbor Day, well, it's a free-for-all really. We'd like to see as many people out here as we can. Like, we have actually got over 1,400 people registered. So that's quite an achievement. If you think 25,000 plants, well, I'll let you do the maths on that. But it's really only about 16 plants each, and so if you think about it in that terms, it's it's really good. But I think people forget many hands make light work, and that's really what it's about. It's about everyone having a chance to put a plant into the ground, and it's a way of kind of linking themselves to the park as well. And anyone that can, from young kids to older people. I mean, take Elwyn for example. It was only 2 weeks ago he was down in his gully, and he's 88, so if you're older, you've probably got a lot of experience that you can pass on to people, and if you're younger, you've probably got lots of energy, so I'd like to see you all there.
For more information on how you can join in, visit waiwhakariki.co.nz. Later in the show, we find out about World Smoke Free Day and their connection with tomorrow's Arbor Day. Welcome back. The South Waikato community have a new initiative called My Village to try to better the lives and future of their youths. One of the ways they are doing this is a short film competition on why it's not okay to miss a day.
Billy, tell us about the film competition that you're running.
Okay, so the film competition runs from the 27th of May till the 12th of July, and it will involve the 4 secondary schools in South Waikato, with a view to get all our budding Peter Jacksons to create something really special in promoting 100% school attendance.
And what is the purpose of the film competition?
The purpose really is for these children to create a really exciting way of promoting school attendance, and who better to bring that message across to children than children themselves. We were hoping to get some really good responses from the schools who are asking.
Because there's quite a number of organisations involved with the initiative, isn't there?
The schools are the main people that will be taking part in this. Obviously, TCOS, who I work for, which is the Tokoroa Community of Social Services, and hopefully the local police officers as well will be happy to visit schools and promote this scheme as well.
And why is it so important to attend school every day?
There's been quite a lot of research done globally on attendance and how it ties in with school achievement and academic achievement. The more children are at school, the more they get out of it, essentially.
Does the South Waikato have a particularly bad attendance rate?
Not necessarily, no, but we have a zero tolerance to truancy, and we want to see any truancy snuffed out, basically, as well as take care of the attendance issues. Aside from that, and supporting the families that have difficulty getting their children into school for other reasons.
And the film competition is actually running alongside the poster competition as well.
It is, yeah, which is really exciting. There's 18 primary schools that are going to be involved in creating some hopefully marvellous posters that will be displayed throughout the community. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what we get back from that one.
Is it the 18 primary schools in the South Waikato?
That's correct, yeah.
Oh, so exciting. What is the new integrated attendance service at the South Waikato?
Well, indeed, new integrated attendance services is something that's been rolled out nationwide. It replaces the district truancy services and the non-enrolment truancy services. And this was done to basically stop children from falling through the gap, so to speak. So we've become a one-stop shop for all attendance issues. So, yeah.
And it's working so far?
So far, so good. I mean, it's early days, but yeah, in our area, certainly it seems to be working okay.
So who put that into place? Was that the Ministry of Education?
That's correct, yeah.
And what does research say about people who are involved in school? Are they less at risk of criminal behaviour?
In Hamilton in 2003, they set up the first Rock On initiative, which is, now bear with me, reduce our community kids offending now. Oh, got there, you can see why I called it Rock On. That was designed to reduce the crime rate that was being committed by school-aged children, quite often during school hours. So that goes to show in itself that there is issues associated with truancy and crime, sadly. But since those initiatives have been rolled out, that's spread out beyond Hamilton now, and more and more communities throughout New Zealand are using the Rock On scheme, and crime rates in that respect are being reduced.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that correlation there. I mean, but do you think that, in your opinion, that the whole community should be taking more responsibility for youth welfare in their community?
Very much so, yeah. I mean, in small communities like ours, where we're fortunate that the children that we see on the street, we quite often know, and we shouldn't be afraid to approach them and say, hey, how's it going? Oh, hang on, how come you're not in school? You know, really we're looking after their best interests. They might not see it that way straight away, but maybe when they finish school and they've got some qualifications to send them in the right direction, they'll think back to the time when Uncle Eddie pulled them to one side and said, hang on, you know, what's your game, you know? So, and I know times are tough economically, but I really urge those shopkeepers to embrace the truancy-free zone that we've got set up in these areas. And if they do see kids coming into their shop during school hours, again, don't be afraid to question it. And, you know, they reserve the right to refuse to serve them if they wish to do so. Yeah.
Yeah, good on them. Do you think that small towns have higher truancy rates?
I don't think so. I think big towns, big cities, there's more places for children to hang out and go undetected somewhat. Like I said, in the smaller communities, there's not many degrees of separation. If you know someone, you usually know them for a friend of somebody, and you can go, I saw your boy out the other day, and that kind of, means the truancy is kept somewhat lower. So, like I said, I think we are fortunate in that regard.
I suppose uniforms are a good thing as well, because I suppose if you're out in your uniform during school hours...
They are good, yeah. As a truancy, a former truancy officer, now attendance officer, Mufti Day is my worst day because I'm either, trying to find kids in and amongst everybody without the uniforms on, and I've pulled up the odd 22-year-old before and asked why they're not in school, which is often embarrassing. So
probably a compliment for them, though.
Absolutely. So, Mufti Days are great for charity and fundraising, but for me, they're
hard work.
Not so good.
Thank you very much, Billy, and all the best for the competition.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Coming up next, World Smoke Free Day. If you've just joined us, welcome to Central News. The government's goal is to have a smoke-free Aotearoa by 2025, and to help achieve this goal, World Smoke-Free Day will be celebrated across the globe tomorrow. Hilary Entwistle found out how you can get involved in the Waikato.
So what is World Smoke Free Day?
World Smoke Free Day is a day celebrated every year on 31st of May. Around the world it's actually called No Tobacco Day, but here in New Zealand it's World Smoke Free Day, and it's just a day to celebrate everything smoke free and encourage people to make quit attempts.
Tell us about the New Zealand theme this year.
This year's theme is the same as last year's actually, and it is Quit Now. It's about whānau, and it's just about doing more now and supporting whānau and friends to make it a quit attempt.
So the government's goal is to have a smoke-free Aotearoa by 2025. Do you think that that's actually possible?
It is achievable. It is a big ask, but by working smarter and working collaboratively on projects, we can definitely get there. When people ask me these questions, I like to think about where we've come from, and it's only 10 years since we were allowed to smoke in pubs and smoke in sports clubs and in the sports grounds. I vividly remember going to watch Waikato down at the stadium and the cloud of smoke hovering above the crowd. So when you look at things like that and see how far we've come, and that was before we've got this 2025 goal from the government, then I do think it is achievable. Now that we've got this goal, government's really pushing towards it, and so there's going to be some huge changes in the next 10 years.
What are the stats? I mean, how many New Zealanders are smoke-free?
At the moment, 18% of New Zealand adults are still smoking, which means that there's 82% of adults that are actually smoke-free, which is positive. And we're also seeing that there are a lot of the younger generations aren't picking up smoking like they used to, which means that our campaigns targeted at youth, like the Smoking Not Our Future and things like that, are actually starting to work. But there's still a way to go, but we're definitely improving, and it's a definite decrease in the amount of people smoking.
What about mental health? I mean, how many mental health patients are smoke-free now?
Well, mental health, we know that there are more smokers in people who suffer mental illness. And they roughly, for our organisation, which is Pathways, we have 50% of our people that are smoke-free. And that has, I guess, improved from a position of 90% smokers, so 10% only being smoke-free, to 50%. So we believe, making a difference as well.
How many New Zealanders die each year from smoking?
Unfortunately, the stats still tell us that about 5,000 people are dying each year, and this is a huge effect on New Zealanders as loved ones are dying because of this, because of smoking-related illnesses. Lung cancer is a big one. 90% of lung cancers are attributed to smoking, so it's quite shocking to see the effects of tobacco. So we really want to start doing things now to make this come down fast.
So how do we quit, not just give up?
That's a good question. There's a lot of people take about 5 to 7 quit attempts to actually completely kick the habit, but a lot of people try to go cold turkey, which works for some people, but a lot of people, they need more support. So getting a quit coach or something like that involved is very helpful, and using things like nicotine replacement therapy also helps with the cravings and stuff like that. So there's lots of support out there, and I recommend that people do use that support because it seems to help.
What is happening throughout the Waikato on World Smoke Free Day?
There's lots of things going on around the Waikato region. A lot of organisations tend to do little things like displays and stuff like that, just supporting the day. But Toast, which is the South Waikato Smoking Coalition, Smoke Free Coalition, they're doing a signage competition with all the schools around their area, where they are having I think it's like it's a design competition where the students design the smoke-free playground sign, which are going to be erected around their playgrounds. Chances, which is more the Northern Waikato Smoke-Free Coalition, we're actually going to be down at the Garden Place and doing a big day down there. We've sent out letters to the businesses around the area asking people if they want to quit and want to make a quit attempt, they can come down and get information. We're going to have our quit coaches down there so they can ask as many questions as they like, and also they can try the nicotine replacement therapy.
So who can come along to that event?
Anyone can come along. We want anyone to come along, just enjoy. We're going to have heaps of competitions down there and just fun activities and stuff. But if you've got family members or whānau or friends that want to come down and have a quit attempt, then we want them to come down and just get involved.
And now Smoke Free Day is actually teaming up with Arbor Day. Tell us about that.
That's quite a long story as well, but we work quite closely with some of the DHB services, the Integrated Recovery Service, and I guess it was a bit of a team effort. We do some joint exercise sessions with people who have mental illness, and it was recommended that maybe it would be great to come out, seeing it was Arbor Day, and get the people out here doing something active and also try and keep them smoke-free on the day. So it was a great idea. We spoke to Gerald at the Hamilton City Council, and he said yes, no problem, come along, put up a tent or whatever, and join us. The more the merrier, and hopefully we'll bring some people to plant some trees and also maybe talk to any of the other people that come along about smoking and smoking cessation.
For more information, visit smokefree.org.nz. That is the news for today. We really want you to be involved, so like us on Facebook and let us know your views. If you have any news, including your own video or photos, go to our website and hit upload. Thanks for joining us. Hilary will be back tomorrow night with more guests from in and around the region. I'm Amy Forrest. Have a wonderful evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.